My mother didn't even blink when she said it across the dinner table. "You're not half the woman your sister is." The words hit so hard the room actually tilted. I pushed my chair back, feeling every year I'd kept quiet tighten in my chest, and said, "Then she can start paying your rent." Forks froze. My father went pale. "Rent? What rent?" he whispered, like the truth might swallow him whole. But that moment, the shock, the silence, the fear in his eyes was nothing compared to what came after, because the real secret hadn't been revealed yet. My name is Nora Ellis, and for most of my life, I've been the quiet one in a family that never stops talking about my sister. People often assume I'm shy, but that isn't quite true. I just learned early that in my parents' house, silence keeps the peace, and peace, no matter how fragile, was something I tried to protect. On paper, my life looks steady. I'm a financial manager at a logistics company near the Portland Harbor. I work with numbers, deadlines, and systems that make sense. There's a calmness in spreadsheets that real life has never offered me. My days follow predictable rhythms, the echo of forklifts at the docks, the hum of the office, the soft click of my keyboard. I go home to a small apartment with warm lamps and a view of the river. Some nights I cook pasta, tie my hair up, and take comfort in small, orderly things. But the steadiness ends every Friday. That's when I drive to my parents' two-story house in the suburbs, a place wrapped in manicured hedges and the illusion of a perfect family. Inside, perfection cracks fast. The moment I step through the door, I feel 16 again, the second daughter, the supporting role in Vivian's highlight reel. My sister has always been the star. Tall, confident, the kind of person who fills a room and expects it to stay filled. She debated her way to trophies in high school, earned a law scholarship, and walked into a career everyone applauded before she even proved herself. And quiet steady, Nora watched her take the spotlight like it was her birthright. My parents adore her. They always have. At every family gathering, every holiday, every dinner, they lift her accomplishments like offerings. New cases she won, promotions she got, the house she bought, her plans, her vacations, her potential. And then there's me. Nora, who pays her own tuition at 17, Nora, who works 2 jobs in college, Nora, who never asks for help. I learned not to. It wasn't that my parents disliked me, they just preferred the louder story. Still, I kept showing up every Friday because they insisted. My dad always said, "This family has a seat for you, don't leave it empty," half joking, half serious. My mom called if I was even 5 minutes late. Family first, she'd remind me, though it often felt like Vivian first was closer to the truth. The dinners were predictable. My mother plated the same roast chicken. My father asked the same questions. Vivian shared the same wins. And I pushed food around my plate, pretending the quiet I carried didn't weigh something fierce. But the Friday before everything imploded felt different. My mother kept giving me these sharp, assessing glances. Vivian was in an unusually triumphant mood, like she knew something I didn't. Even my father's smile looked stretched too thin. I sensed it then, a storm building beneath the polite clatter of dishes. I just didn't know it would hit me first. That Friday dinner began like all the others, but there was a weight in the air I couldn't name. My mother hovered near the stove longer than usual, stirring the same pot, twice her jaw tight. Vivian scrolled through her phone with a grin so smug it felt rehearsed. And my father kept clearing his throat the way he does when he's preparing to make an announcement. I'd lived enough Fridays to know when something was coming, but I tried to shake it off. I set the table, lined up the silverware, pretended not to notice the tension pooling under every breath. When we finally sat down, the conversation, like always, turned to Vivian. "She's presenting at a conference next week," my mom said proudly. They asked her. "Isn't that something? She's always been exceptional," my dad added, giving her a smile that belonged in a campaign poster. Vivian shrugged with fake modesty. "Well, they know talent when they see it." I chewed slowly, swallowing a mix of chicken and resentment. I'd spent the entire day back at work fixing a financial mess left by someone else, but that never made it to the family dinner table. My achievements lived quietly in the corners of my parents' house, tucked between bills and forgotten grocery lists. I tried to change the subject. "I led a big project at work this week." My director said, but my mother waved her hand. "You're doing fine, Nora. But Vivian's work impacts hundreds of people. It's different. That sting, small, sharp, intentional, landed exactly where she wanted it to. I looked down at my plate, reminding myself to keep breathing. It was just another Friday, I told myself. Another night of swallowing what I wished I could say. But then my father leaned back, exhaling with a dramatic sigh. Speaking of homes, he began, Vivian helped us sort through some mortgage paperwork last month. She's been such a blessing. A chill crawled up my spine. Mortgage paperwork? Blessing. Vivian's grin widened. It wasn't a big deal. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. 3 years of payments pulsed behind my ribs. Payments I'd made quietly, without applause, without acknowledgement, because they told me they didn't want anyone worrying. I had sacrificed vacations, graduate classes, even the down payment for my own apartment. And now they were rewriting the story. A warmth started building in my chest, slow at first, then rising like a tide I could no longer hold back. My mother must have sensed it because she gave me that look, the patronizing tilt of her head that always meant I should stay quiet. Then she said the sentence that split something open inside me. You're not half the woman your sister is. The room didn't just go silent. It snapped. I felt myself sit up straighter. I felt the scrape of the chair legs on the hardwood floor. I felt every unspoken word I had ever swallowed gather at the back of my throat, like a storm clawing to break free. And for the first time in my life, at that table, I didn't push the feeling down. I let it rise. The words left my mother's mouth with such casual certainty that for a moment, I wondered if she even heard herself. You're not half the woman your sister is. She said it like stating the weather, like it was a fact I should have accepted long ago. Something steadied inside me. I pushed my chair back slowly, the sound of wood scraping across the floor, cutting the air clean in half. Vivian's smile faltered. My father looked up, startled, as if he'd forgotten I was even sitting there. I met my mother's eyes, my voice calmer than I felt. Then she can start paying your rent. Silence slammed into the room. My father blinked. Rent what rent? His voice cracked, almost pleading. I didn't flinch. The mortgage payments. For 3 years, 3 pairs of eyes widened at once, shock denial and something close to fear flickering across their faces. I felt a strange lightness, like I had finally stopped carrying a weight no one else even knew existed. My mother recovered first. Nora, don't be dramatic. We never asked you. You did? I cut in my voice, steady. Every month. Just this once. We'll handle next month. Don't let the bank send a notice. I have the payments, I have the bills, I have everything. My father's face drained of color. You shouldn't bring that up now, it's not appropriate. There it was, the dismissal, the minimization, the attempt to shove the truth back into the shadows where they preferred me to live. I stood fully, hands on the back of my chair. What's inappropriate is pretending Vivian saved a home I paid to keep standing. Vivian finally spoke, her voice thin. Nora, maybe you misheard. Maybe Mom didn't mean, but I wasn't listening anymore. I watched them scramble to reframe the story, to mold it into something comfortable for them. And for the first time, I didn't shrink to fit that version. Something inside me clicked, sharp, clear, irreversible. Without another word, I walked out of the dining room, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside into the cold Portland air. My breath shook, but not from regret. It was the shock of hearing myself stand up after years of sitting down. That night back in my apartment, I opened my laptop, scrolled to the automatic monthly payment, and clicked cancel. A small box appeared. Are you sure this time I was? Canceling the payments should have felt like closure, but instead it cracked something open. For the first time in 3 years, my bank account didn't drain on the 15th. The silence from my parents was loud enough to rattle the walls. I started running along the river in the mornings. At first, it was just to quiet the shaking in my hands, but soon, the rhythm of my feet on the pavement became something like freedom. I joined a Thursday cooking class at the community center. I learned how to make homemade pasta and how to laugh with strangers who didn't know a thing about my family. I even let some friends drag me on weekend hikes around Mount Hood, where the air felt cleaner, like it hadn't been breathed by expectations yet. With distance, I saw everything more clearly. Just this month, every don't tell anyone, every time they'd praised Vivian while I paid the bills in silence. And then came the photo. It arrived on a Sunday morning from Mrs. Jensen, my parents' elderly neighbor who had a habit of noticing everything. She texted me a picture of my childhood home with a banner stretched across the porch. "Congratulations, Vivian, for preserving the family home." My entire body went still. Preserving Vivian. My throat tightened as I stared at the banner, my hands numb. Every late-night transfer, every sacrifice, every time I'd told myself family comes first, all of it rewritten like I'd never been there at all. I didn't cry. Not this time. I felt something else, something sharper, steadier. I walked to the dining table, pulled out the folder where I kept every payment and bill I'd printed over the last 3 years, and began to organize them, date by date, month by month. It looked less like a stack of papers and more like a quiet autobiography of sacrifice. That's when Sarah called. "Nora, I think you should know," she whispered. "Your parents are planning a family appreciation dinner next month. In Seattle. They asked me to make the slideshow." I braced myself. Let me guess. It's about Vivian. It's worse than that. I could hear the discomfort in her voice. They want to highlight her as the reason the house was saved. They gave me captions. They're calling her the anchor of the family. Anchor, savior, hero. All words I had earned but never received. "Send me the file," I said. She hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I'm very sure." When the slideshow arrived, I opened it and felt a hollow laugh escape me. Photos of Vivian standing proudly in front of the house, my parents hugging her on the porch, captions like, "Thank you, Vivian, for keeping our family home safe." I created a copy of the file and added what they had erased. After their final slide, I inserted a timeline of the payments, bar charts of monthly support, screenshots of messages from my mother blurred for privacy, but clear in meaning. And the last slide, a photo of the house with the words, "The truth deserves a place too." I saved the file to my laptop, to the cloud, and onto a USB drive I kept in my bag like a heartbeat. Weeks passed. I moved into my new apartment in Seattle, bright quiet, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the skyline. I bought a light gray sofa, a small oak table, and one tall bookshelf. For the first time in my life, I walked into a home that belonged entirely to me. And then the invitation arrived. A message from my mother, family appreciation dinner. Dress nicely. No explanation, no acknowledgement, no apology. But when the day came, I didn't go to impress them. I went to finish something. The restaurant in downtown Seattle glowed with soft amber lights. Through the glass, I saw familiar silhouettes, my parents' Vivian, in an emerald dress, relatives I hadn't seen in years. Everyone dressed like they were attending a ceremony. And in a way, they were. I waited by the doorway, unseen, as my father took the microphone. "We are here," he began proudly, to honor our daughter Vivian, the one who stepped up during difficult times, who helped us keep the home that has been in our family for decades. Applause, smiles, cameras flashing. The slideshow started. Vivian on the porch, Vivian holding papers, Vivian smiling next to my mother, caption after caption painting a story that wasn't true. Then the screen flickered. A bar chart appeared. Then another. Then the dates, the payments. 3 years of financial support mine spread across the screen in unforgiving clarity. The room went silent. My parents froze. Vivian's mouth fell open. I stepped forward into the light. "If the truth makes anyone uncomfortable tonight," I said calmly, "that's not my problem." Every head in the room turned. My father looked at me like I was a ghost he never expected to see. My mother's face crumpled, not in shame, but in fear of being exposed. Vivian's eyes filled not with sorrow, but with dread. I walked toward the screen. For 3 years, I paid the mortgage. Not 1 month, every month. Quietly. Consistently. While you, I looked at my parents, rewrote the story to make it easier for everyone to applaud. My father tried to speak. "Nora, take this outside. Why I asked. You wanted everyone here to know what Vivian did. Why shouldn't they know what I did?" Whispers spread like wildfire. I knew something was off. She was always working late. 3 years. She paid all that. Vivian stood trembling. "I didn't ask them to do this. I thought..." "You thought nothing?" I said, not cruelly but plainly. You enjoyed being the hero in a story that was never yours. My mother finally found her voice. Nora, we didn't want to embarrass you. I laughed softly. Embarrass me by telling the truth. The USB drive felt heavy in my pocket, but the truth on the screen was enough. I had no desire to attack them further. The point wasn't to win. It was to be seen. For the record, I said, I don't want the house. I don't want credit. I just won't let you erase me. The room stayed silent long after I stepped away from the screen. My father reached out a hand. Nora, wait. But I didn't wait. I turned and walked toward the door, feeling lighter than I had in years. Outside, the cool Seattle night wrapped around me. I stood on the steps, breathing in the sharp air, and realized something. This wasn't revenge. It was release. Inside, they could argue, cry, deny. It didn't matter. The truth had been spoken, and I had finally stepped out of the shadow they kept me in. And once you step into your own light, you don't go back. 2 days after the dinner, I was watering a small plant on my balcony when someone knocked. Through the peephole, I saw my parents standing close together, looking smaller than I'd ever seen them. My mother's eyes were swollen, my father's shoulders tense, as if the cold Seattle air had carved new lines into both of them. I opened the door without a word. They stepped inside, slowly scanning my apartment like they were entering a life they'd never imagined for me. Sunlight spilled across the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the edges of my bookshelf, the new dining table, the quiet I had built on my own. My mother spoke first. Nora, we're sorry. Her voice cracked. We were wrong. We shouldn't have let the story become something it wasn't. We shouldn't have asked you to carry so much alone, my father added. We talked. We want your name on the house. You earned it. I let the words settle, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I don't need it, I said. I have a home now, my own. What I needed was respect and honesty, not a deed. They fell silent. My mother's hands shook. My father looked at the floor like the truth had finally dragged him somewhere unfamiliar. I'm not angry anymore, I said quietly, but I'm done disappearing. If we rebuild anything, it has to start from that. Something in the room shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but an opening. A place where we could breathe without old stories crushing us. When they left, the apartment felt even brighter. I walked to the balcony, looking out over the skyline, realizing I had crossed a line there was no returning from. And for the first time, the future felt entirely mine. I stood on my balcony long after the door closed behind my parents, watching the Seattle lights blink against the dark. For years, I thought keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. But the truth is, silence doesn't protect you. It erases you. Choosing myself didn't break my family. It finally broke the story that kept me small. And maybe that's the real beginning. If you've ever carried a burden in silence or been written out of your own story, tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this chapter resonated with you, hit subscribe. More stories are coming, stories about finding your voice, standing your ground, and rewriting what family means.